The cargo ship Meridian's Promise floated through deep space like a metal whale swimming through an ocean of stars. Inside the ship, the crew went about their daily work. They checked systems, moved cargo containers, and made sure everything ran smoothly. It was a normal day, or at least it should have been. Maria Okonkwo walked through the main corridor toward the engineering section. Her boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. She wore her usual gray work jacket, but something was different. The jacket looked fuller than before, like she carried something beneath it. Some crew members passed her in the hallway. They looked at her, then looked away quickly. Nobody said anything. The first mate, a tall Zelthari named Zixthar, stood near the duty roster screen. His blue skin caught the light from the displays. He had 4 arms and large black eyes that missed very little. When Maria approached, those eyes noticed the unusual bulge on her back right away, but Zixthar only nodded at her. "Chief Engineer Okonkwo," he said in his clicking voice. "Welcome back. I hope your leave went as well as possible." Maria's face was tired. Dark circles sat under her brown eyes. Her usually neat hair was pulled back in a messy bun. "Thank you, First Mate," she said quietly. "I'm ready to return to duty." Zixthar looked at his tablet. He tapped it with one of his 4 fingers. "I have adjusted the schedule. You are on day shift only for the next month. No overnight repairs unless absolutely necessary." Maria started to protest. "Sir, I don't need special treatment. I can handle my regular shifts." "It is not special treatment," Zixthar said, his voice firm but not unkind. "It is efficient crew management. We are 6 months from any port. I need my chief engineer well-rested and sharp." He paused, then added more softly, "The crew understands, Engineer Okonkwo." "We all understand." Maria's throat felt tight. She nodded once and walked toward engineering before emotions could show on her face. In the engineering bay, the massive engines hummed their constant song. Pipes and cables ran along every wall. Display screens showed temperature readings, pressure levels, and power flow diagrams. This was Maria's domain. She had worked on the Meridian's Promise for 3 years. She knew every sound, every vibration, every quirk of the ship's systems. She went to her workstation and sat down carefully, very carefully. As she settled into the chair, a small sound came from behind her. A tiny whimper, barely louder than the engine hum. Maria reached back and adjusted something beneath her jacket. "Shh, Kofi," she whispered. "It's okay. We're safe. Auntie's here." The whimpering stopped. Maria unzipped her jacket a little. Strapped to her back in a modified carrier was a baby boy. He was 4 months old with round cheeks and tight black curls on his head. His eyes were closed now, sleeping again. The carrier held him tight against Maria's back, his head supported by padded fabric. She had modified it herself during the flight back to the ship. It distributed his weight evenly and kept him secure. Maria's sister had died 2 weeks ago. Transit shuttle accident on New Lagos Colony. One moment she was alive, planning her future, raising her son. The next moment gone. Just like that. The colony authorities said Maria was the closest living relative. They gave her a choice. Take the baby or put him in colonial care. The care system on frontier worlds was overwhelmed. Children disappeared into it like stones dropping into deep water. Maria had held her nephew and felt his small heart beating against her chest. There was no choice at all, but there was a problem. A big problem. The Meridian's Promise was 6 months into a 2-year contract hauling cargo between distant stations. If Maria left the ship, the crew would lose their completion bonus. Everyone had families depending on that money. Everyone had plans for it. And the ship needed a chief engineer. Without one, they could not continue safely. Maria could not abandon the crew. She could not abandon Kofi either. So she made a decision that seemed impossible. She would do both. The door to engineering opened. A young human man named Tommy walked in. He was Maria's assistant, 22 years old and still learning the systems. When he saw Maria, his eyes went wide. His mouth opened like he wanted to say something, but no words came out. "Tommy," Maria said calmly, "I need you to take the morning inspection rounds today. Check all the coolant lines in sections C through F. I'll handle the power relay diagnostics here." Tommy blinked. "But Chief, you always do the coolant checks yourself. You say they're too important to delegate." "Today I'm delegating them," Maria said. Her voice was kind but firm. "Can you handle it?" "Yes, Chief, of course." Tommy grabbed his toolkit and headed for the door. He paused there, looking back. "Chief, I'm really sorry about your sister." Maria's hand stopped moving on the keyboard. She nodded without turning around. "Thank you, Tommy." After he left, Maria worked quietly. Her fingers flew over the controls, checking systems and making small adjustments. Behind her, Kofi slept peacefully. Every 20 minutes, Maria would reach back to check on him. Was he breathing? Was he too warm, too cold? Was the carrier still secure? Hours passed. The ship's doctor, a Terralian named Sulith, came to engineering. Terralians looked like tall frogs that walked on two legs. Sulith's skin was green and always slightly wet. She carried a medical bag. "I was passing by," Sulith said, her voice making wet sounds. "I thought I would check the environmental controls in this section. Sometimes the humidity runs incorrect for optimal health." This was strange. Environmental controls were not usually the doctor's job. But Maria said nothing. She just nodded. Sulith walked around checking displays. She put her medical bag down on a bench near Maria's station. "Oh, how clumsy of me," Sulith said. "I have left some supplies here. Basic medical items. If anyone needs them, they are available." She looked directly at Maria with her large golden eyes. "For anyone who might need them." Maria looked at the bag. Inside she could see infant fever medication, rash cream, and formula supplements. Her eyes got wet. "Thank you, doctor," she whispered. "I have checked nothing," Sulith said firmly. "I have left nothing. I was never here." She walked out with her head held high. That evening, Maria felt Kofi starting to wake. He would need feeding soon. She looked at the clock. Almost time for the shift change. She started to gather her things to leave, but there was still work to finish, an important diagnostic that could not wait. Then the ship's intercom crackled. It was the captain's voice, rough and deep. Captain Vorn was a Centauran, a species that looked like gray bears that walked upright. "Attention all crew. Mandatory safety drill in 30 minutes. All personnel to stations. Engineering personnel, secure your stations and stand by for drill protocols." Safety drills did not usually happen at shift change. They happened during quiet periods. But Maria understood. 30 minutes gave her time to feed Kofi in private. Time to change him and make sure he was comfortable. The captain was giving her that time without saying why. Maria sat in the small side office attached to engineering. She fed Kofi with a bottle, watching his small hands grip her finger. His eyes looked up at her with complete trust, complete love. "We can do this," she whispered to him. "We have to do this. And maybe, just maybe, we're not as alone as I thought." Outside the office, the ship hummed its constant song. The crew worked their stations, and nobody said a word about the small life now living among them. But they all knew, and in their own quiet ways they had already started to help. The Meridian's Promise sailed on through the stars, carrying its crew and one tiny new passenger toward whatever came next. 3 weeks passed since Maria returned to the Meridian's Promise with Kofi. The ship continued its journey through deep space, and life fell into a new rhythm. But it was a rhythm that nobody talked about directly. Maria woke each morning at 600 hours. Kofi usually woke at 05:30, hungry and crying. She would feed him, change him, and strap him carefully into the carrier on her back. Then she would put on her work jacket and head to engineering. Every single day, the same routine. The work did not get easier because she had a baby. Engines still needed maintenance. Systems still broke down. Coolant lines still leaked. Power relays still failed. Maria did it all with 20 pounds of baby strapped to her back. She crawled through narrow access tubes to reach damaged circuits. She climbed ladders to check overhead systems. She lay on her back under consoles, tools in her hands, while Kofi dozed against her. Sometimes he cried. When he cried, Maria would talk to him in a soft voice while she worked. "Just a minute, baby. Auntie needs to tighten this bolt." "There we go. Good job being patient," the crew watched. They said nothing. But things started to change in small ways. The Vryn navigator was named Chithrax. The Vryn looked like giant mantis insects that walked upright. They had large green bodies, many legs, and triangle-shaped heads with compound eyes. Chithrax spent most of his time on the bridge, managing the ship's course through space. One day, Tommy noticed something odd. "Hey, Chief," he said to Maria. "Have you noticed the engine harmonics are different? They're running quieter than usual during third shift." Maria had noticed. The engines made less noise during the night hours now. It was subtle but real. She checked the logs and found small adjustments in the engine frequency. The adjustments were signed off by Chithrax. Vryn had excellent hearing. They could hear frequencies that humans and most other species could not. Chithrax had adjusted the engines to produce less noise during Kofi's sleep times. The adjustments did not hurt efficiency, but they made the whole ship quieter. A baby could sleep better in the reduced noise. Maria found Chithrax on the bridge 2 days later. The bridge was the command center of the ship, full of screens and control stations. Chithrax stood at his navigation console, his many legs tapping on different controls. "Navigator," Maria said quietly. "Thank you for the engine adjustments." Chithrax's head tilted. His compound eyes reflected the screen lights. "I have made necessary optimizations for efficiency," he said in his clicking, buzzing voice. "Nothing more." "Of course," Maria said. "Still, thank you." Chithrax's antennae moved in what Maria had learned was a Vrin gesture of acknowledgement. The small human produces sound at night sometimes. It carries through the ventilation system. Better that other sounds do not add to his distress. "He has a name," Maria said softly. "Kofi." "Kofi," Chithrax repeated. The name sounded strange in his buzzing voice. "Small Kofi is adapting well to space travel. His distress calls have decreased by 42% over 3 weeks. This is efficient." Maria smiled despite her exhaustion. "Yes, very efficient." Down in the cargo bay, the loader crew worked differently now too. The cargo bay was massive, full of containers stacked 4 high. The loaders used heavy machinery to move things. Usually they worked all 3 shifts, making noise at all hours. Now the night shift loader crew worked more quietly. They moved containers during the day. At night they did paperwork and maintenance on the quiet equipment. The crew chief, a human woman named Sandra, never explained the change. She just made new schedules and everyone followed them. During mealtimes in the galley, crew members started doing something else without discussing it. The galley was the ship's cafeteria, with long tables and a serving line. When Maria came in with Kofi, someone would always stand up. "Here, Chief, take this spot," they would say. "I'm done anyway." The spot they offered was always in the corner away from the main traffic. A quiet place where Maria could eat with one hand while supporting Kofi with the other, where she could feed him a bottle without everyone walking past. The crew gave her space and privacy without making it obvious. Dr. Suleth continued to forget medical supplies in engineering. Baby-safe pain medicine, anti-rash ointment, teething gel, extra bottles and sanitizing solution. Once a week, Maria would find a new package sitting on her workbench with no note, no explanation. Maria tried to thank Suleth directly. She found the doctor in the medical bay, organizing supplies on shelves with her long-webbed fingers. "Doctor, I wanted to repay you for the supplies," Maria said. "How much do I owe?" Suleth turned her golden eyes on Maria. "I do not understand." "What supplies?" "The ones you leave in engineering every week." "I leave nothing," Suleth said firmly. Her throat sac expanded and contracted. "I am a doctor. I treat the crew. If medical supplies appear in various locations on the ship, that is not my concern. Perhaps the supply inventory is poorly organized. Perhaps items are being misplaced." She turned back to her shelves, ending the conversation. But Maria saw Suleth's throat sac pulse, and what she had learned was a Terralian smile. The biggest change came from the other human crew members. Tommy started taking on the more dangerous repair jobs that required climbing on the outside of the ship in a spacesuit, jobs that involved working with high-voltage systems, jobs that meant crawling through areas with sharp edges and toxic chemicals. "I need the practice, Chief," Tommy would say. "You're always saying I should get more hands-on experience." Marcus, another engineer, did the same thing. So did Chen from the bridge crew. The human crew members quietly took on Maria's most dangerous tasks without being asked. The alien crew members noticed this too. Zixthar, the first mate, watched everything from his position of authority. One day he called Tommy to his office. "Engineer Thomas," Zixthar said, using Tommy's full name. "You have logged 17 high-risk repairs in the past 3 weeks. This is unusual. Before, Chief Okonkwo performed most high-risk work herself." Tommy shifted on his feet. "Just trying to improve my skills, sir." "I see." Zixthar's forearms crossed over his chest. "And Engineer Marcus has also logged increased high-risk work. And Technician Chen. All the human crew members, in fact, have suddenly become very eager to perform dangerous tasks." He paused. "While Chief Okonkwo now handles primarily diagnostic and supervisory work." Tommy said nothing. He just looked at the floor. Zixthar uncrossed his arms. "This is efficient crew management. High-risk work should be distributed among qualified personnel. This prevents over-reliance on a single crew member. Continue your current task distribution. Tommy looked up in surprise. Sir? I said continue. This is my official order. You are dismissed, Engineer Thomas. Tommy left and Zixthar returned to his work. He did not smile because Zelthari faces did not move that way. But if they could have, he would have been smiling. Captain Vorn made his own adjustments. The captain rarely left the bridge and he spoke to the crew only when necessary. He was gruff, direct, and focused on keeping the ship running and the contract completed. But the safety drills continued. Twice a week now, the captain called drills. They always happened at times when Kofi would need feeding or changing. They always gave Maria exactly the break she needed. The drills were short and simple, usually just checking stations and confirming readiness. Some crew members thought the drills were excessive. Why are we doing so many drills? A cargo worker complained in the galley. We never did this many before. An older crew member, a Zelthari woman named Pix, gave the worker a sharp look. The captain has his reasons. We follow orders. That is how ships work. The drills continued. Late one night, Maria sat in the small engineering office. Kofi was crying. He had been crying for an hour. Nothing helped. She had fed him, changed him, checked his temperature, tried everything. He just cried and cried. Maria felt tears on her own face. She was so tired. Her back hurt from carrying Kofi all day. Her hands hurt from holding tools. Her head hurt from lack of sleep, and her heart hurt from missing her sister. I can't do this, she whispered to the empty room. I can't. I'm so sorry, Kofi. I'm so sorry, Aid. I can't do this. Kofi cried louder. Maria rocked him, but her arms felt weak. The office door opened. Sulith stood there, her medical bag in her webbed hands. She did not ask permission. She just walked in and gently took Kofi from Maria's arms. Sit, Sulith commanded. When did you last sleep more than 3 hours? I don't remember, Maria admitted. Sulith examined Kofi with quick, expert movements. He has gas. Uncomfortable but not dangerous. I will help. She held Kofi in a specific position and rubbed his back. After a minute, Kofi burped loudly. The crying stopped. He looked surprised, then settled into quiet whimpering. Sulith handed him back to Maria. You need rest. Real rest. Tomorrow you will take a half day. This is not a request. I can't. There's too much work. The work will be done, Sulith said firmly. Humans think they must carry everything alone. This is foolish. You have a crew. Let them be a crew. She left before Maria could argue. Maria held Kofi close. He was falling asleep now, comfortable again. She looked around the small office. Outside, she could hear the quiet hum of the engines adjusted by Chithraks for better sleep. She thought about the medical supplies that appeared each week. About Tommy taking on dangerous repairs. About the captain's perfectly timed drills. About the quiet corner seat in the galley. We're not alone, Kofi, she whispered. We're really not. All the alarm started at 347 hours. Maria jolted awake in her small quarters. Red lights flashed on her ceiling. The alarm sound was sharp and urgent, the kind that meant real danger. Emergency. Coolant leak in reactor section. All engineering personnel to stations immediately. Maria was moving before the announcement finished. She grabbed Kofi from his small crib. He woke up crying, confused and scared by the noise and lights. She had no time to comfort him properly. She strapped him into the carrier with quick, practiced movements. Her hands shook slightly as she secured the straps. It's okay, baby. It's okay. Auntie's got you. She pulled on her work clothes over her sleep shirt. No time to change properly. She shoved her feet into boots and ran for the door. The corridors were full of crew members rushing to their stations. Maria ran toward engineering, her boots pounding on the metal floor. Kofi bounced against her back, crying harder. Each step hurt him, she knew. The carrier was not designed for running. But there was no choice. She reached engineering in 90 seconds. Tommy was already there, his face pale. Marcus was pulling up damage reports on the screens. All the displays showed red warning lights. Chief, thank God, Tommy said. We've got a massive coolant leak in the primary reactor line. Temperature is climbing fast. Maria looked at the screens. Her stomach dropped. This was bad, really bad. The coolant kept the reactor from overheating. Without coolant flow, the reactor temperature would climb until it triggered an automatic shutdown. A shutdown during a jump through unstable space would strand them. They were in a region with unusual gravity waves. The ship needed full power to navigate safely. If they lost power here, they might drift for months before anyone found them. Show me the leak location, Maria commanded. Her voice was steady even though her heart pounded. Marcus pulled up a schematic. Section 7, junction point beta 3. The pipe ruptured. We've got coolant spraying everywhere. The area is sealed off automatically, but the pressure is dropping fast. Maria studied the schematic. Section 7 was deep in the ship's core. To reach the junction point, someone would have to crawl through access tunnel 17. The tunnel was narrow, barely wide enough for a person. It was hot even on normal days. Right now, with coolant spraying and the reactor temperature climbing, it would be dangerous. We need to reroute the coolant through the backup line, Maria said. But the backup valve is manual. Someone has to go down there and open it by hand. I'll go, Tommy said immediately. Maria looked at him. Tommy was broad-shouldered and muscular. Good for heavy lifting. Too big for access tunnel 17. You won't fit, Tommy. The tunnel is too narrow. Then I'll go, Marcus said. But Marcus was even bigger than Tommy. Maria looked at the schematic again. She was small, 5 feet 3 inches and slim. She had always been the one who could reach the tight spaces, the one who could crawl through the narrow tunnels that bigger crew members could not access. I'm going, she said. Chief, you can't, Tommy protested. He looked at her back where Kofi was strapped. You can't take him down there. There's no time to find someone else to watch him, and there's no one else small enough to fit. Maria was already grabbing her tool belt. I know that tunnel. I know that valve. I'm the fastest option. On the bridge, Captain Vorn's voice came over the intercom. Engineering. I need that coolant system working in 15 minutes or I have to initiate shutdown protocol. Confirm you understand. Maria pressed the intercom button. Understood, Captain. I'm going in now. She did not wait for arguments. She moved to the access hatch and pulled it open. Heat rushed out. The tunnel beyond was dark and cramped. She could see the metal walls already sweating with condensation from the heat. This was going to be bad. Maria climbed into the tunnel. Behind her, she heard Tommy say, Be careful, Chief. The tunnel was even worse than she expected. The temperature was climbing fast. Within seconds, sweat was running down Maria's face. The air felt thick and hard to breathe. She crawled forward on her hands and knees. The tunnel was too low to crouch properly. She had to stay flat, pulling herself along. Kofi cried against her back. The heat was affecting him too. His cries were sharp and frightened.
Each cry felt like a knife in Maria's heart. I know, baby.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Just a little longer. The tunnel seemed to go on forever. Maria's hands slipped on the hot metal. Her knees scraped through her pants. Behind her, Kofi's cries got louder. He was scared and hot and confused. He did not understand why his aunt was not helping him, not comforting him. Maria wanted to stop. Wanted to turn around and get him out of this heat. Every instinct screamed at her to protect the baby. But if she stopped, if she turned back, the ship would shut down. The crew would be stranded. Everyone would be in danger, including Kofi. Just hold on, Kofi, please, baby, just hold on. She reached a junction point. The tunnel split in 3 directions. She had to choose the right one. In the heat and noise, with Kofi crying, it was hard to think. She closed her eyes and pictured the schematic in her mind. Left tunnel. She went left. The heat got worse. Maria's vision blurred. Sweat stung her eyes. She could feel Kofi moving against her back, twisting in discomfort. His cries were weaker now. That scared her more than the loud crying. When babies stopped crying, it meant they were giving up. No, Kofi, stay with me. Talk to Auntie. Cry if you need to. Just keep making noise, okay? She talked to him continuously now. Her voice was hoarse from the heat and emotion. We're almost there. Almost there. You're doing so good. Such a brave boy. Your mama would be so proud. I'm proud. So proud of you. The tunnel opened into a small chamber. There was the valve. It was a big wheel-shaped handle, red and marked with warning stripes. Coolant sprayed from the ruptured pipe nearby, filling the air with mist. The spray was toxic. Maria pulled her work shirt up over her nose and mouth. She reached the valve and grabbed it with both hands. It was hot. She could feel it burning her palms, even through her work gloves. She pulled. The valve did not move. No. Maria pulled harder. Her muscles strained. The valve was stuck. It had not been turned in years. It was corroded and jammed. Behind her, Kofi's cries faded to whimpers. Maria pulled with everything she had. She thought about her sister, about the promise she made to take care of Kofi, about the crew depending on her. About everyone she would fail if she could not open this valve. Please, she whispered. Please, the valve moved. Just a little. Maria gasped and pulled again. It moved more. She threw her whole body weight into turning it. The valve slowly turned. She could feel the coolant flow changing. The pressure shifting. Yes, come on, she kept turning. Her arms burned. Her hands felt like they were on fire. Behind her, Kofi had stopped making noise. That terrified her, but she could not stop. Not yet, almost done, the valve opened fully. Maria felt the system pressure stabilize. On the panel next to the valve, lights changed from red to green. She had done it. The backup coolant line was open. The reactor would cool down. She let go of the valve and immediately reached back for Kofi. Her burned hands fumbled with the carrier straps. Kofi? Kofi, talk to me. She pulled him around to her front. His little face was red from the heat. His eyes were half closed, but he was breathing. She could see his chest moving up and down. There you are. There's my boy. Tears ran down Maria's face. We did it, Kofi. We did it. She held him against her chest with one arm and crawled back through the tunnel with the other. It was harder going back. She was exhausted. Her hands hurt. Her whole body hurt, but she moved as fast as she could. Kofi needed cool air. He needed water. He needed safety. When she emerged from the access hatch, Tommy and Marcus were waiting. They stared at her. Maria knew how she must look. Her face was red and sweating. Her hands were blistered. Her clothes were soaked. And Kofi hung limply in her arms. Get Dr. Sulith, Maria said. Her voice was barely a whisper. Now Marcus ran. Tommy helped Maria to a chair. She sat down heavily, still holding Kofi. She checked him over with shaking hands. His breathing was okay. His pulse was fast but steady. He was just exhausted and overheated. Like her, Sulith arrived within a minute. She moved fast despite her usually slow Terralian walk. She took Kofi gently and examined him. She pulled out a small device and scanned him. He will be fine, Sulith said after a long moment. Dehydrated and stressed, but fine. Humans are more resilient than they appear. She looked at Maria. Both young and old humans. Maria sagged in the chair. Relief made her weak. Tommy was looking at the monitors. Chief, the reactor temperature is dropping. Coolant flow is stable. You did it. You saved the ship, the intercom crackled. Engineering, this is the captain. Status? Maria forced herself to stand. She walked to the intercom and pressed the button. Crisis resolved, Captain. Backup coolant line is open. Reactor is cooling normally. We're stable. There was a pause. Then Captain Vorn said, Good work, Chief Engineer. The day after the coolant crisis, Maria woke to a message on her personal data pad. It was from Captain Vorn. The message was short and direct, like everything the captain did. Chief Engineer Okonkwo. Report to the bridge at Oro 900 hours with the small human. The small human. Maria almost laughed. She looked at Kofi sleeping in his crib. He had recovered quickly from the heat exposure. Dr. Sulith had kept them both in medical overnight for observation. Kofi had drunk his bottles, slept well, and woke up his normal self. Young humans bounced back fast. Maria's hands were bandaged from the burns. They hurt, but Sulith had treated them well. They would heal. Maria had been hurt worse before in her years as an engineer. She could work through the pain. At Aero 900 hours, Maria walked onto the bridge. The bridge was usually quiet and professional. Today it seemed different. Every station was occupied. Every crew member looked up when she entered. Kofi was awake in his carrier on her back. He made small cooing sounds, looking at all the lights and screens. The bridge was his favorite place in the ship. So many things to see. Captain Vorn sat in his command chair. He was a large Centauran covered in gray fur with a broad face and small dark eyes. He looked like he could tear apart metal with his bare hands. Probably he could. But when he looked at Maria, his expression was softer than usual. Chief Engineer, he said in his deep, rumbling voice. Come forward. Maria approached the command chair. The whole bridge crew watched. This was unusual. Crew members were not normally called to the bridge for public meetings. Captain Vorn stood up. He was huge, nearly 7 feet tall. Maria had to look up to meet his eyes. Kofi made a surprised squeak at the size of him. What you did yesterday was beyond the call of duty, the captain said. His voice carried across the bridge. You risked your life to save this ship. You showed courage and skill under circumstances that would break most people. Maria did not know what to say. I was just doing my job, sir. No, Captain Vorn said firmly. Your job is to maintain the engines. Your job is not to crawl through superheated tunnels with a child strapped to your back. Your job is not to burn your hands opening jammed valves while that child suffers from heat exposure. He paused. But you did it anyway. That is not duty. That is something more. The captain reached out with one large hand. He placed it gently on Kofi's small head. His hand was so big it covered Kofi's entire skull. Kofi looked up at him with wide eyes. This small human is crew now, Captain Vorn said. He has been through a crisis with us. He has endured hardship for the good of the ship. That makes him crew as much as any of us. He looked around the bridge. From this moment forward, we do not pretend. We acknowledge. Kofi is one of us. He pulled his hand back and looked at Maria. You will not carry this burden alone anymore. That is an order, Chief Engineer. Maria felt her throat get tight. Tears threatened to come. She blinked them back and nodded. Yes, sir. First Mate Zixthar has something for you, the captain said, sitting back down in his chair. Dismissed. Maria found Zixthar in his office off the main corridor. The first mate was working at his desk with two hands, while the other two organized datapads on a shelf. Zilthari were excellent at multitasking. Ah, Engineer Okonkwo, he said when she entered. Please sit. Maria sat in the chair across from his desk. Zixthar finished his work and turned his full attention to her. All four of his black eyes focused on her face. I've been in contact with several crew members, Zixthar said. We have discussed the situation. We have reached a consensus. He picked up a data pad with one hand. This is a new duty rotation. Tommy and Marcus will take on 50% of your high-risk repairs. You will focus on diagnostics, supervision, and system management. Sir, I can handle my full duties, Maria protested. This is not about your capability, Zixthar said calmly. This is about efficient risk management. You are our only chief engineer. If something happens to you, the ship is in danger. We have been foolish to allow you to take so many risks. This change is overdue. He picked up a small package with another hand. Also, this is from my family homeworld. He placed it on the desk in front of her. Maria opened the package carefully. Inside was a small hammock-like cradle made of beautiful blue fabric. It had small weights on the corners and shimmered in the light. It is a null-gravity cradle, Zixthar explained. Zilthari used them for our young. It creates a small gravity-neutral field. The small human can rest in it without pressure on his developing spine. It will help him sleep more comfortably during his growth period. Maria touched the fabric. It felt smooth and warm. This must have been expensive to ship from your home world. My sister sent it quickly when I explained the situation, Zixthar said. She has 4 young ones. She understands the challenges. He paused. Zilthari value efficiency above all things. But we also value family bonds. You are crew. Crew is family. Therefore, Kofi is family. Maria could not hold back the tears this time. They ran down her face. Thank you, she whispered. Do not thank me, Zixthar said, looking uncomfortable with the emotion. Just accept the help. This is what crews do. Over the next few days, more gifts appeared. Maria would return to her quarters to find things outside her door. A thermal wrap from Chithrax, the Vryn navigator. It was made of special fabric that kept babies warm in cold spaces and cool in hot spaces. A collection of toys from Sandra and the cargo crew. Small things that rattled and squeaked and lit up. Perfect for a baby who was starting to grab at things. A bottle warmer from Dr. Sulith. Medical grade and precise. So you do not have to guess at the temperature, Sulith said when Maria tried to thank her. Precision in infant care is important. Even the cleaning crew left something. A set of soft cloths for washing and burping. They were worn but clean, clearly well used and well loved. A note said, from my own children years ago. Still good. Still useful. The galley cook, a human man named Ray, approached Maria one morning.
Hey, Chief, I've been reading about infant nutrition.
I can make fresh food for him when he's ready for solids. Just let me know. He's only 4 months old, Maria said, surprised. That's still a few months away, Ray shrugged. Well, I'll be ready when he is. Growing kids need good food. The biggest change happened in engineering itself. Maria arrived one morning to find Tommy and Marcus rearranging equipment. They had cleared out a small section near her workstation. They had set up the null-gravity cradle from Zixthar. They had added a small changing station with supplies. They had even installed extra sound dampening on the walls. We made him a space, Tommy explained. So he doesn't always have to be on your back. When you're doing stationary work, he can be here. Close enough for you to see him, but safe and comfortable. Maria looked at the small area. It was perfect. A little nest for Kofi right in the heart of engineering. The sound dampening was Chithrax's idea, Marcus added. He said babies need quiet sometimes, even in a busy space. That afternoon, for the first time in 2 months, Maria worked at her station without Kofi strapped to her back. He lay in the null-gravity cradle next to her, playing with a rattle that lit up. She could reach over and touch him anytime, could check on him constantly, but her back did not ache. Her shoulders did not burn. She could move freely. It felt strange. Wrong, almost. She had gotten used to his weight, used to his presence against her spine, but it also felt like relief, like a burden shared. Tommy came in with his toolkit. "Chief, I'm heading down to check the power couplings in Section 5. Should be routine, but I'll call if I need guidance." "I can come with you," Maria said automatically. "No need," Tommy said quickly. "I've got this. You've taught me well. Besides," he glanced at Kofi, "looks like you've got some diagnostic work here." After Tommy left, Maria sat at her station. She ran her diagnostics. She checked her systems. She made notes on repairs that were needed. And every few minutes she looked over at Kofi. He was happy, content, safe. That evening, the entire crew gathered in the galley. This was unusual. Normally, crew members ate in shifts. But tonight, everyone was there. Captain Vorn stood at the front of the room. "I am not good at speeches," the captain said bluntly, "so I will be brief. We have been on this ship together for 8 months. We have been a crew. But in the past 2 months, we have become something more. We have become a family." He gestured toward Maria. "Chief Engineer Okonkwo has shown us what it means to be strong, to endure to sacrifice. She has carried a burden that no one should have to carry alone. And she has done it without complaint, without asking for help, without showing weakness." The captain's voice got rougher. "But strength is not about doing everything alone. Strength is knowing when to let others help, knowing that accepting help is not weakness, it is trust." He looked around the room at all the different species, all the different faces. "We are different beings from different worlds. But we are one crew, one family. And families take care of their own." The crew nodded. Some made sounds of agreement in their own languages. Chithrax's antennae moved in approval. Suleth's throat sac pulsed. Even Zixthar's normally stern face softened. Captain Vorn looked at Kofi, who was in Maria's arms. "Welcome to the crew, little one. You have a lot of strange-looking uncles and aunts now, but they are all yours, and you are all ours." The crew clapped. Some species stomped their feet or made clicking sounds. It was not neat or organized, but it was genuine. It was real. Maria stood up. 3 months after the coolant crisis, the Meridian's promise was a different ship. Not in appearance or function, but in feeling. It felt more like a home now, more like a place where people lived, not just worked. Kofi was 7 months old. He was bigger now, heavier, more alert. He could sit up by himself and grab things with both hands. He laughed often, a sound that echoed through the corridors. The crew members smiled when they heard it. Some of them had never heard a human baby laugh before. They decided it was a good sound. The null-gravity cradle in engineering had become Kofi's daytime home. Maria worked at her station while he played nearby. He had his toys, his bottles, his blankets. The crew had learned his schedule. Everyone knew when he napped, when he ate, when he needed attention. Tommy had become something like an older brother. He would make funny faces at Kofi during their breaks. He had learned that if he crossed his eyes and stuck out his tongue, Kofi would laugh so hard he would hiccup. Tommy did this approximately 50 times per day. He never got tired of it. "Hey, little man," Tommy would say, picking Kofi up carefully. "Want to see the engine readouts? Look at all the pretty lights." Marcus was more practical. He had modified Kofi's carrier with better padding and weight distribution. "If you're going to carry him, might as well do it right," he said when he presented the improved version to Maria. The new carrier was a work of engineering. It had cooling panels, storage pockets, and adjustable straps. Maria could wear it for hours without pain. Dr. Suleth gave Kofi regular checkups. Every week she would examine him carefully. "He is thriving," she would announce each time. "His growth is normal. His reflexes are good. His human development is proceeding correctly." Then she would add more softly, "You are doing well, Maria. Very well. But the most surprising friendship was between Kofi and Captain Vorn. The huge Centauran captain had taken a special interest in the baby. Every few days, Captain Vorn would come to engineering. He would stand at the edge of Kofi's small area and watch him. "May I?" he would ask Maria. "Of course, Captain." Then Captain Vorn would carefully pick up Kofi with his massive hands. He would hold the baby like Kofi was made of glass. Kofi loved it. He would pat the captain's furry face and pull on his ears. Captain Vorn allowed this with patience that surprised everyone. The gruff, stern captain would walk around engineering, with a baby pulling his fur and cooing at him. Centaurans value strength, the captain told Maria one day while holding Kofi. But we also value the protection of the young. All young, not just our own. You humans are fragile when small. It is remarkable you survive at all. He adjusted Kofi in his arms. But you do survive. And you grow strong. That is admirable. Chithrax, the Vryn navigator, had developed his own relationship with Kofi. Vryn saw the world differently than mammals did. Their compound eyes detected movement and light patterns in unusual ways. Chithrax discovered that Kofi was fascinated by the way Vryn moved. The bridge crew would sometimes find Chithrax on his brakes, moving his arms in slow patterns, while Kofi watched with wide eyes and laughed. "Vryn young learned through pattern observation," Chithrax explained. Small Kofi's eyes track movement efficiently. "This indicates good neural development." "His name is just Kofi," Maria reminded him gently. "Not small Kofi." "But he is small," Chithrax said, confused. "This is an accurate descriptor." "Yes, but it's not part of his name." Chithrax's antennae twitched. "Understood, Kofi, who is small." Maria gave up. Close enough. The galley had become a different place too. Ray, the cook, had started making special food for Kofi, now that he was starting to eat solids. Soft vegetables, mashed fruits, tiny pieces of protein. Ray would present each new food to Maria like a chef showing a masterpiece. "Mashed sweet potato with just a tiny bit of butter," Ray would announce. "Perfect texture for his age. And I made extra for you, Chief. You need to eat too." The crew members had learned to read Kofi's moods. They could tell when he was tired, hungry, uncomfortable, or just wanting attention. When Maria was busy with an important repair, someone would always be there to help. Sandra from the cargo crew would rock him. Pix, the older Zelthari woman, would hum to him in her clicking language. Even stern first mate Zixthar had been caught bouncing Kofi on his knee during a particularly fussy afternoon. "I am merely demonstrating efficient, soothing techniques," Zixthar had said when someone commented. "Rocking at 1.4 cycles per second is optimal for human infant calming." But everyone had seen him smile. Well, the Zelthari equivalent of a smile. One day the ship received a distress call. A mining vessel had suffered an accident. They had injured crew members and a failing life support system. They needed immediate help. The Meridian's promise changed course. Captain Vorn called all senior crew to the bridge. Maria came with Kofi and his carrier on her back. Nobody even blinked. This was normal now. "The mining ship is 3 hours away," Captain Vorn said. "They have hull damage and need engineering support. I need to send someone over to help with repairs." He looked at Maria. "Chief Engineer, you are the best choice. Are you available?" Maria did not hesitate. "Yes, Captain. You will take Tommy and Marcus with you. The repairs are complex. You will need help." "Understood, sir." Maria paused. "Permission to bring Kofi, sir." The bridge crew looked at each other. The captain studied her face. "Explain your reasoning." "He does better with me than with anyone else," Maria said. "If I leave him here, he might get upset. That would distract me during the repairs. If he comes with me, I can focus on the work." It was not the whole truth. The whole truth was that Maria still could not bear to be separated from him. After losing her sister, after carrying Kofi through so much, the thought of leaving him behind made her chest tight with fear. But the practical reason was also valid. Captain Vorn nodded slowly. "Permission granted. But you will take extra safety precautions. The mining ship environment may be hazardous." "Yes, sir." "Thank you, sir." 3 hours later, Maria, Tommy, and Marcus crossed to the mining ship in a small shuttle. Kofi was secure in his carrier, wearing a tiny environmental suit that Suleth had prepared. He looked like the galaxy's smallest astronaut. He seemed to enjoy the adventure, looking around with wide eyes. The mining ship was in rough shape. Hull plates were damaged. The air smelled of smoke and chemicals. The crew was exhausted and scared. They were a mix of species. mostly rough workers who spent their lives digging minerals from asteroids. When they saw Maria approach with a baby on her back, they stared. "Is that a human infant?" the mining ship's captain asked. He was a draken, a reptilian species with green scales and yellow eyes. "Yes," Maria said calmly. "This is Kofi, he's crew. Now show me your engineering section. We're here to help." The mining ship's captain looked at his first officer. The first officer just shrugged. "We are not in a position to question," the first officer said. "If the human brings a small human, that is her choice. The repairs took 6 hours. The damage was worse than reported. Maria had to rewire half the life support system while Tommy and Marcus patched the hull. It was delicate, difficult work. All the while, Kofi stayed quiet on her back. When he got fussy, Maria would talk to him. "Just a little longer, Kofi. See this wire? This wire helps people breathe. It's important. We need to connect it right. There we go." Good job waiting. The mining crew watched her work. They watched her talk to the baby while her hands moved with perfect precision. They watched her solve problems that their own engineer could not figure out. They watched her climb into damaged sections, crawl through tight spaces, all with that small life strapped to her back. When the repairs were finished, the mining captain approached Maria. "I have seen many things in space," he said slowly, "but I have never seen this. You work like this every day?" "Every day," Maria confirmed. "Why? Why not leave the small human with others?" Maria adjusted Kofi in the carrier. He was falling asleep now, tired from the long day, because he's mine to protect. And my job is to fix ships, so I do both. The mining captain shook his head in wonder. Humans are strange. Very strange. But also very strong. Back on the Meridian's Promise, the crew gathered in the galley to hear about the repairs. Maria described the technical work. Tommy and Marcus filled in details. And Kofi, exhausted from his adventure, slept in Captain Vorn's arms. The captain had taken him the moment they returned, giving Maria a break. The mining crew could not believe it, Tommy said, laughing. They kept staring at the chief. I think they thought she was some kind of superhero. Not a superhero, Maria said, tired but smiling. Just a person doing what needs to be done. That is what humans do best, Chithrax observed. You see what needs doing and you do it. Even when it is difficult, even when it seems impossible, you simply do it. Suleth nodded her large head. And you adapt. You find ways. You carry your young into danger because leaving them is not an option. You work through pain and exhaustion. Because stopping is not an option. You are soft and weak compared to many species. But your determination makes you strong. Captain Vorn looked down at Kofi sleeping in his arms. This small human will grow up on a ship. He will see stars before he sees grass. He will know,